Well, good afternoon, Minnesota. Good evening, Turkey. Good morning, California. And good morning, Australia, because it's March 15, very early in the morning in there. My name is Pınar Başgöze. I'm serving as the president of Turkish-American Association of Minnesota. As the entire board members of Turkish-American Association of Minnesota, TAAM, we welcome you all with warmest greetings. Thank you so much for being here. Before we start our program, we would like to kindly remind you that your microphones should be muted at all times. If you have any questions, please use the chat option. We will hold a brief Q&A session at the end of each guest segment. Please also note your questions for our guests in the chat. Today in this special program, we will have the privilege of hosting three incredible women: Turkish-American actress and director, Ms. Aycil Yeltan, Turkish-Australian poet and interdisciplinary artist, Dr. Elif Sezen, and Turkish opera artist, soprano, Ms. Selva Erdener. We planned this event in honor of International Women History Month and in memory of all the heroes perished defending their country in Battle of Gallipoli in 1915 and 16. Moreover, every year, March 14th is a day of celebrating and honoring the medical professionals in Turkey. Therefore, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all who relentlessly have worked for our well-being and safety always, and especially during the pandemic caused by COVID-19. Considering the unprecedented circumstances the whole world has been going through due to the pandemic for a whole year now, we also would like to reflect on this matter. With the presence of three incredible, successful, and influential women honoring us today, we strongly hope that we would be able to deliver more hope, more inspiration, more positivity, and peace to you. Without further ado, I would like to invite our publicity chair, Dr. Zeynep Başgöze, to welcome our first guest. Thank you.
Thank you, Pınar. So let me start by introducing our guest first. After earning her degrees in music and theater from Ankara and Istanbul State Conservatories, Aycil Yeltan portrayed many significant roles at Dorman Theater in Istanbul. She earned her Master of Fine Arts at Cal Arts in acting and appeared in numerous stage, film, and TV productions in Istanbul, New York City, and Los Angeles. She also writes, directs, and produces films, as well as continuing her acting career in independent film production internationally. She served as a juror at International Film Festival in Ireland and is on the committee of Women in Film in Dallas and Topaz Film Festival. Her second short film, Topanga, which she wrote, directed, and produced, won awards in global film competitions and film festivals. Currently, she works as a faculty of acting at Cal Arts. She's also now in the process of creating her debut feature-length film project. Welcome, Aycil. We're so thrilled to have such a multi-talented artist like yourself here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be in this event for such a meaningful subject.
Thanks. So I just want to ask you a question before we start watching your amazing movie. So as a female artist who was born and raised in Turkey, what exactly inspired you to go through a journey from Turkey to United States? And in relation to that, how do you think your career developed into becoming not just an artist, actress, but also a producer and a director?
yeah, all artistic endeavors of mine entered in my life gradually and very timely. I started as a musician, as you introduced, at Ankara State Conservatory. I was training as a musician. Of course, being in that environment in conservatory with other disciplines of arts, dance, theater, I was exposed to different channels. And in that time, I grew love and affection towards craft of acting. That's how it happened. And then being an actor on stage, later on in front of the camera, being on sets, I was exposed to other elements of it behind the camera, and I was curious to explore it, having the, passion for storytelling. I wanted to give it a try, and that's how it started. And also, I love working interdisciplinary. Coming to United States, however, didn't happen that gradually. It was rather fast and very a rush decision, if you will. There was a recession in Turkey that time, and Dorman Theater, which I was a member of the ensemble that time, bankrupt, shut down. So it was a very difficult event for us all my collaborators in the theater, my artist friends, because it was such a beautiful lifestyle for us, mingling in the theater, working with amazing directors, collaborating with different discipline of artists, dancers, singers, and being on stage with great actors, learning from them, like Haldun Dorman, being on stage with, sharing the stage with them. Haldun Dorman, Göksel Kortay, Suat Sungur, Gülen Karaman, all these beautiful things were taken from us all of a sudden. So then I thought, okay, maybe it's time to explore something else and take the risk and give a try to another journey and be in another culture, taste the international pathway of being an artist.
Yeah, that sounds lovely, and USA is lucky to have you. So yeah, now I think it's time to watch this amazing award-winning movie, Topanga by Aycil Yeltan.
Thank you very much.
Aycil, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your wonderful creation with us. We're really grateful to have you. I'm wondering, I would like to ask our fundraising chair, Ms. Figen Hagen, if we have any questions in the chat for Ms. Yeltan?
Not so far, but you might want to think over. It's a very strong movie, so right now, not right now.
If there's no questions in the chat, I would actually like to ask a question. But meanwhile, everyone, please feel free to write your questions in the chat. Meanwhile, my question is, what was the influence that made you focus on this specific topic, Aycil?
Yeah, thank you so much, Zeynep. First of all, there was, and there still is, a growing number of homelessness going on, specifically in Los Angeles and all around the world. That was one thing that first pushed me to do this. And meanwhile, I met this homeless woman and we become friends. It's not her story, but I was influenced by her. One of the elements was that. And also violence towards women all around the world, again, was one of the elements that pushed me to think about the subject. Also, I wanted to use this character who was abused as a mute and hearing impaired, because I wanted to use some symbols. Again, the violence towards women most of the time is silenced. People cannot express themselves afterwards. There's a lot of reason for that. And yeah, that was all things combined in my head gradually in time and become this movie.
Yeah, that was wonderful, and probably exactly why all these reasons made it so powerful. Really awesome.
Thank you.
We have one question, if you're available. How can violence be addressed through the art? Did you want me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
How can violence be addressed through the art?
Thank you so much for that question. That was another reason that in my personal life, art was always a healer for me. Whenever I was in trouble or depressed or anything goes wrong in my life, I always hold on to art as an artist. But I know that art also is used as a therapy, as a healer for others too. So I thought, yeah, okay, we have unfortunate events in our lives, and this violence towards women, maybe I'll use art again as a healer. So this character will approach to this safe harbor to make her life become something out of it.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions so far.
Great. Thank you so much for making this movie meet other audiences.
Thank you very much, Aycil, again, for being with us today in honor of World Women History Month, internationally celebrated all around. And we really appreciate you being here. Yep. Sorry.
Excuse me. I would like to ask the question, but I don't know how can ask in English. Can I speak in Turkish?
Yes, of course.
Film gerçekten çok çarpıcıydı, çok güzeldi. Ben şeyi bekledim biraz da, hani ona sonuçta yine sormadan ressam onun iznini almadan yapıyor resimleri. Hani onunla ilgili bir şey bekledim ama bir de o ilk baştaki o genç adam o ressamın evine girdi. Yani ne oldu? Filmin devamı mı var? O mesaj sonuçta hani erkekler miydi neydi? Yani onu şey yapamadım, oturtamadım kafamda. Ama güzeldi, yani bir sessiz, yani hiç konuşma olmadan anlatılması müthiş. Yani çekimler, siz müthiş oynamışsınız, gerçekten çok çok etkileyiciydi. Sorularım böyle. Teşekkür ederim.
We thank you, Müge. Teşekkürler, Müge Erdem. In short,
we have one question.
Yeah,
Do you think we have time to ask now, or should we ask later?
Okay, now maybe briefly, let's have Aycil address to that question. Okay. And then let's take that last question and maybe we will continue with our next guest. How about briefly, Aycil, in English, you heard it in Turkish for our non-Turkish speaker viewers. So the person who helped the victim was also a male, and then he also just started drawing her pictures without her permission, or maybe we didn't get the message, but how would you explain that a little bit? Was it again like male dominated, saving the victim, or what was your message?
Well, I mean, I did not think about it as male dominancy there. I was not seeing the artist as a male. I was seeing more like genderless. Artists have this drive to do what they're passionate for. So therefore, I thought that this was an urge for him to just seeing a body there. And because artists, painters are practicing their tools, their talents through, they call it something else in Turkish, but you know, they do a lot of sketches every day to practice. Like playing an instrument every day, you know, trying to exercise your, practice your scales and stuff like that. So I wasn't thinking that that was a dominance of male, or as a matter of fact, that role was written for a woman first, a woman artist, but it changed in time because I knew this artist that the artist who played the role is an artist. He's not an actor. So it went into him, but I completely thought that it was not a gender, underlying gender. So yeah, should I explain it in Turkish to Müge?
Maybe briefly, because we have one more question that we would like to address to, and then we need to continue with our next guest.
Okay.
Thank you. I understand, Aylin.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So should we move on to the next questions?
Yes, please, Figen'cim. Thank you.
And thanks. I love the movie. I just learned that Topanga is the name given to area by Native American indigenous tribe. Any particular reason why you chose this specific title and location?
Yes. Yes, Topanga is... as a matter of fact, Topanga means the mountain, where the mountain meets the sea. So I was kind of using the symbolism in that regard, that someone who has a huge heart, larger than who she is looking like, meeting again greater something than herself, art. That was my motive, using the Topanga name. And also the movie is made in Topanga, the area.
The location.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Figen'cim. Thank you, Aycil, so much. And thanks everyone for their valuable questions. Now, I would like to pass the microphone to our past president, Dr. Aydın Durgunoğlu, to introduce our next guest. Thank you.
Thank you, Pınar. Our second guest is a poet, an interdisciplinary artist who lives in Melbourne, Australia, which incidentally makes it especially meaningful given that Australia is part of the Gallipoli and Dardanelles history that we're also commemorating today. Elif Sezen was born in Melbourne, Australia in 1981 and she moved to Izmir, Turkey with her family when she was 11, and she lived there for 16 years. Elif studied painting in 9 Eylül University, Faculty of Fine Arts, and obtained her master's degree in sculpture from the same university. She returned to Melbourne, Australia in 2007 and completed her PhD in fine art at Monash University in 2014. In her multidisciplinary doctoral research project, she researched how memory can be reconceptualized through symbolic and metaphorical transformations between visual arts and poetry. Elif continues to work on her projects, exhibiting her art in various exhibitions and having her poetry published in national and international journals and anthologies. Her recent publications include Universal Mother and A Little Book of Unspoken History. So Dr. Sezen, welcome. Since you are working across various fields and disciplines of art, would you say a few words about your multidisciplinary approach as an artist and poet-writer? And also, can you describe to us what draws you to Yunus Emre's poetry? Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Aydin. I started painting, drawing, and writing poetry and short stories since I was a little child. So having the courage to explore myself in different fields from a very early age made me aware of one very crucial thing, and that is I pay attention to my needs. I think this sensitivity to pay attention to one's needs, particularly artistic, existential and psychological needs in the process of artistic growth is very important, life-giving opportunity. So for me, the urge to experiment with art and words was so strong, and it still is. So I found myself studying painting at uni, and then I decided to do my master's in sculpture. I remember saying to myself, painting, drawing, and print media was a very interesting field of study, but I would like to do some sculptures as well. So in the meantime, I bought myself a professional camera and was becoming more and more interested in photography. Upon my return to Australia, I thought to myself, okay, in my PhD, I would like to do a kind of research where I can bring together all these disciplines. In addition to the newer fields I started to explore, such as digital arts, performance arts, book arts, etc. So during my doctoral research, my interest in poetry deepened even further. And I wrote many poems in Turkish and English and started publishing them for the first time in my life. So in terms of how these processes enrich my creative life, I found that when I'm involved in one discipline, an urge to make work in another discipline emerges within me. Like when I make a painting or a sculpture, I notice within me a rising inspiration to write something or to do something else creative. So it seems like they are feeding each other's potential development. So I'm very interested in discovering myself and my purpose in life continuously through this sort of approach, through experimenting and exploring in a multifaceted manner. And I'm very happy to be on this path. So to respond to your question on Yunus Emre, I can say that I grew up reading Yunus Emre's poetry as well as the works of some other Sufi poets. And I found such Sufi poets close to my heart. For I think through their work and as role models in the life they lived, they teach us so many valuable insights about the concept of what we call insan-ı kamil in Turkish, which means the perfect human being. So today I would like to give you an idea of the great Turkish Sufi mystic, poet, and thinker, Yunus Emre, where he stands in history with his work and poetic persona, and what his contributions were. He was probably the most famous figure of Turkish oral folk literature and was also one of the earliest known representatives of Turkish humanism in Anatolia, as we know. So he lived in central Anatolia from the mid-13th century to the first quarter of the 14th century. Today, I will first talk a little bit about the development of Turkish language, then about where Yunus Emre stands in utilizing the Turkish language in the context of Turkish Sufi poetry at that point in time in history. So let's start with a glimpse of an understanding of Turkish language, which belongs to the Turkic language family. The Turkic languages are a language family of at least 35 documented languages spoken by the Turkic peoples of Eurasia, from Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, Caucasus, Central Asia, Western Asia, North Asia, particularly Siberia and North Asia, and East Asia. Turkic languages constitute a branch of the Altaic language family. So let's narrow down our scope to Central Anatolia, where Yunus Emre lived. There are two traditions in Turkish literature. First one is Turkish oral literature, which was strongly influenced by Sufi and Shia traditions. And the second one is Turkish written literature. We can say that written Turkish is respectively young compared to the oral tradition of Turks. But there is an uninterrupted use of Anatolian Turkish in both oral and written forms, we can be sure of, according to the historical evidences, of course. Spoken and written Turkish, modern Turkish, stems from the dialects of Oghuz and Kipchak tribes who arrived in Anatolia early in the 9th century. And of course, Turkish had a long journey in its development. The 13th and the 14th centuries would become the cradle of classic Turkish language and literature, rising in the dawn of the 15th century. So what did Yunus Emre really do to contribute to this language and literature? Yunus Emre played a very important role in the formation of the dialect called Old Anatolian Turkish. And this specific dialect constitutes the first phase of the historical cycle of the Turkish language. It is the foundation. Before Yunus Emre, there was Ahmet Yesevi, who was also a Turkish mystic and poet. In fact, the earliest known Turkish poet who composed poetry in Turkish dialect. So Yunus Emre continued what Ahmet Yesevi started. Yunus Emre's use of an accessible dialect of the Turkish language is possibly one of the most important aspects of his poetry. Previously, before him, few poets wrote in a dialect that common people could speak or understand. They were rather composing their verses in a type of Turkish that relied heavily on words and constructions of Arabic and Persian origins, not so accessible to everyone in the community. But Yunus Emre's work became accessible from the very beginning due to the language he used to speak and write. His poetry became groundbreaking because he structured his poems around Turkish root words and elementary Turkish grammar so that he could convey his Sufi ideas to a broad audience, whether they were literate or non-literate. People of all walks of life could understand his work easily. Yunus Emre utilized which we call Öztürkçe in Turkish, meaning pure Turkish, to explore divine and societal concepts and values. And he initiated a meaningful process for the poets who came after him. Yunus Emre has two major works. One of them is called Risaleti Nusiye, and the other one is called Divan, that is composed of his poems compiled by his followers after his death. I will read some of the poems very soon. In terms of Yunus Emre's biography, there are some uncertainties. We don't have so many details about his life. There are some historical documents remain to date. So this is what we know so far. Yunus Emre lived in the same era as great people such as Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, Hacı Bektaş Veli, Ahi Evran, Ahmet Faki, Geyikli Baba, and Seydi Balum. He was born in 1240 and died in 1320 in Sarıköy, the place of his birth also. So it is the 700th anniversary of his death. According to a legend, one year when the harvest in his village was scant, Yunus Emre approached a local dervish lodge to solicit food. There he met Hacı Bektaş Veli, founder of the Bektashi Sufi order, a mystical order of the Bektashi path. When Yunus Emre begged for wheat from Hacı Bektaş offered him blessings instead, a secret breath of blessing, which we call nefes in Turkish. 3 times Yunus refused this offering, and finally he received the wheat. He got what he wanted, and on the way home, realizing his mistake, Yunus turned around and headed back to the dervish lodge for blessings. He said, here is your grain, take it back and give me your blessings of breath instead. But he had missed his chance, said Hacı Bektaş, who referred Yunus to Tapduk Emre, who became Yunus's sheikh and mentor. Thus began 40 years of spiritual instruction with this new mentor, Tapduk Emre, during which Yunus Emre began to compose mystical poetry of the Sufi path. As most of us know, Sufism, also known as Tasawwuf, is mysticism of Islam, an inward dimension. It's the essence. By the 13th century, mystical Sufi poetry became a major branch in Turkish literature. And so Sufi poets like Yunus Emre worked primarily in Anatolian Turkish on the central theme, which was, of course, love and the matters of the heart. Yunus became a very dedicated murid, which means a student on the Sufi path, in the dervish lodge under the Sufi master Tapduk Emre's guidance in a town called Nallıhan in central Anatolia. In Sufi thought, it is a transmission of the divine light from the teacher's heart to the heart of the student that allows progress on the path. So under this teacher's valuable guidance, experiences, tests and tribulations, Yunus came to experience divine love. These experiences led him to the understanding. This understanding once he stated. He said, to progress on the divine path, 3 things are vital in life: effort, love, and knowledge. Yunus Emre lived in very simple yet difficult jobs and developed patience as a virtue in the process of taming his ego. He worked as a woodsman, a woodcutter in other words, and a water carrier, a person who carries water on his back in the village and offers water to those who are thirsty. And in the process of his spiritual education, Yunus Emre changed a lot. He tamed his ego. He became more humble and gentle. He was purified on a soul level. Thus, through his work and as a role model, he teaches us how to love, and he brings forth the importance of love in all matters in life. And he states that only through love we can recognize ourselves as part of a whole, a part of a divine plan, like a drop in the ocean, not separate from it. Yunus has been a leading light for humanity for centuries, with his suggestions to adopt the values of patience, satisfaction, tolerance, generosity, goodness, and virtue in line with the teachings of Sufism. He suggested that mind alone is not enough in the enlightenment of a person, that the heart is also very important and needs to be purified. He lived a difficult life, facing many tests and tribulations. At times, he would leave the dervish lodge and travel on foot, miles and miles, to other places like Syria, Azerbaijan, and throughout Anatolia, to become wiser and more experienced. And after his experiences, he would return to the Dervish Lodge, to his teacher, Tapduk Emre, to continue his spiritual training. One day, when Tapduk Emre presided over a gathering with his dervishes, he turned to Yunus Emre and said, "Recite your poems, my Yunus. Recite your poems." And then Yunus finally began to recite the words of the poems we know today. So I think it's very important for me to point out that Yunus Emre didn't become a poet in the early stages of his life. It was through the long spiritual training he went in the Sufi path. He became more refined in time. He perfected himself, purified his soul, and then he started to create, or rather orally read his poetry, performing his poetry, and he became a poet as a dedicated Sufi mystic. I would actually like to recommend you, if you are interested, to watch this TV series on Yunus Emre. It's currently on Netflix with English subtitles for English-speaking audience. It's called Yunus Emre, and in Turkish, it's called Yunus Emre Aşkın Yolculuğu. It's available on YouTube as well. So this TV series have a very strong, significant documentary value. In fact, one of the producers of this series is Mustafa Takçı, who is a very well-respected Turkish researcher and writer of Yunus Emre's life and work. So he supervised the production of the 44 episodes of this series. So I highly recommend you watch it to understand what kind of life Yunus Emre lived and how he eventually became a poet. So if we're looking to the themes Yunus Emre explored, we can say that as a folk poet, he explored many interrelated universal concepts and themes, such as the divine love, human destiny, peace, friendship, unity. Some of his poems are widely known by many people. These following lines are from one of his most famous poems. I haven't come here to settle down. I have come here to depart. I'm a merchant with lots of goods, selling to whoever will buy. I didn't come to create any problems. I'm only here to love. A heart makes a good home for a friend. I have come to build some hearts. I'm a little drunk from this friendship. Any lover would know the shape I'm in. I have come to exchange my two-ness, to disappear in one. He is my teacher. I am his servant. I'm a nightingale in his garden. I have come to the teacher's garden to be happy and die singing. They say, souls which know each other here, know each other there. I have come to know a teacher and to show myself as I am. Yunus Emre explored love more so on a mystical level, the divine love. And he explored how this notion of the divine expands and interrelates to human love and the love of nature and other beings in the universe. Sufism, with its humanism, is pervasive in Yunus Emre's poetry. He utilized the available mystic thought and literature which had followed a long line of evolution with elements from Buddhist, Indian, Manichaean mysticism, with Neoplatonism of Plotinus, Christian mysticism, the Jewish Kabbalah, and the Muslim thinkers of Sufism such as Mansur al-Hallaj, Ibn Arabi, Al-Ghazali, Farid ad-Din Attar, Ahmet Yesevi, Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, etc. So although his path stemmed from Sufi mysticism, he was open in gathering knowledge of other paths as well, seeing the commonality leading to love and bringing forth all these qualities through his work. There is a well-known Sufi saying that goes, to be in this world, but not of this world. which is pretty much what Yunus did with the life he lived and with his work as well. So this is another poem from his divan that expresses the importance of mysticism through one's own experience, as well as the importance of the unity of multiple mystical paths. We entered the house of realization. We witnessed the body, the whirling skies, the many-layered earth, the 70,000 veils we found in the body. The night and the day, the planets, the words inscribed in the holy tablets, the hill that Moses climbed, the temple, and Israfil's trumpet, we observed in the body. Torah, Psalms, Gospel, Quran, what these books have to say, we found in the body. Everybody says these words of Yunus are true. Truth is wherever you want it. We found it all within the body. Sufi mysticism here reflects upon the idea that man is not only God's creation, but also God's reflection. A human being is God's image and yearns to return to God's reality, from which human being as the image has temporarily fallen apart. This is the agony and longing of the mystic, the separation from the divine. Yunus Emre had this intense yearning of a sublime love. He suffered so intensely in his spiritual exile along the way that he finally reached a blissful state of the submergence of his ego. As Yunus Emre stated in these two lines, the image of the Godhead is a mirror. The man who looks sees his own face in there. The mystical search has 3 stages: purification, enlightenment, and union. The mystic cannot hope to achieve union with the divine beloved without going through what Yunus Emre refers to as crashing the selfhood. Out of his tragic exile, the mystic can only escape by the means of love. The return to the divine beloved is possible not only through the ravaging of the ego, nor through physical death, but through love, which purifies and enlightens the soul. The mystic has no fear of death because he believes in immortality by virtue of divine love. Yunus says, death should give you no fear at all. Fear not, your life is eternal. But the Sufi perspective holds the idea that there is no dichotomy between God and man. Nothing in the universe has existence independent of the divine essence. The central doctrine of Sufism is wahdeti vücut, which means the unity of existence. Yunus Emre explicitly stated this fundamental tenet. He said, the universe is the oneness of deity. The true man is he knows this unity. You better seek him in yourself. You and he aren't apart. You are one. Yunus Emre maintained the attitude starting with the wisdom of Ahmet Yesevi and his dervishes in Central and Asia, and translated the classical Sufi terminology into Turkish. Yunus made a significant contribution to his successors' works in the field of Turkish literature, dervish poems, Bektashi poems, and love literature in his unique style. And he strove to fill hearts with love, wisdom, and service. Yunus Emre's sheikh or mentor, Tapduk Emre, said to him one day, Yunus, from this day on, you will be the intimate friend of the strangers, the hidden beings, and those who sorrow. This is your path. Go do your duty. And so Yunus traveled every place of Anatolia on foot by day and by night, reciting his poems of love. On his travels, sometimes he would be a remedy for those who sorrowed, sometimes he would reconcile enemies, and sometimes he would defend the rights of those who were treated unjustly. Yunus Emre also wandered in Anatolia like a folk doctor in a sense, tried to find solutions to the problems of the people and restored the psychological memory of the society. Yunus Emre's poems, which render restorative mental health service in a sense, concern not only the people of his time, but also the people of today. Now I will read some poems one after another. I will read most of them in Turkish, but this specific poem I will read first, it's in Turkish, and then I will read it in English, and I will read all other poems in English. I wanted to read this one in Turkish because just to give you an idea of its original rhythm and musicality in its original language. Aşkın aldı benden beni. Bana seni gerek, seni. Ben yanarım dünü, günü. Bana seni gerek, seni. Ne varlığa sevinirim, ne yokluğa yerinirim. Aşkın ile avunurum. Bana seni gerek, seni. Aşkın aşıklar öldürür. Aşk denizine daldırır. Tecelli ile doldurur. Bana seni gerek, seni. Aşkın şarabından içem. Mecnun olup dağa düşem. Sensin dünü gün endişem. Bana seni gerek, seni. Sufilere sohbet gerek. Ahilere ahiret gerek. Mecnunlara Leyla gerek. Bana seni gerek, seni. And here is the English version. What I need is only you. Your love took me out of myself. What I need is only you. Every day I shed tears for you. What I need is only you. Neither am I happy for wealth, nor do I grieve for poverty. I console myself with your love. What I need is only you. Your love kills the lovers. Dip them into the sea of love. Load them with fate. What I need is only you. Let me drink from the wine of love, and like Mejnun, wander on the mountains. Every moment you are my sorrow. What I need is only you. What Sufis need is confab. What Ahis need is afterlife. What Mejnuns need is Layla. What I need is only you. There's another poem called I Walk. In flame and an ardor, I walk. Love painted me in blood. Neither am I wise, nor am I mad. Come and see what love has done to me. Either I blow like a wind, or I flow like a flood. Sometimes I dust like a path. Come and see what love has done to me. I gurgle like a river. I brand my liver. I cry when my sheikh comes to my mind. Come and see what love has done to me. Either you grab my hand and give me a lift, or help me come up with your spirit. Make me smile as you made me cry a lot. Come and see what love has done to me. I walk on the paths of different provinces and ask for my sheikh in different tongues. Who cares about me in foreign lands? Come and see what love has done to me. I become Mejnun and walk on the ways. I see my beloved one in my dreams. Then I wake up and feel heartsick. Come and see what love has done to me. Poor Yunus, I am wretched. From head to toe, I am a bruise. Due to my comrade, I am idled. Come and see what love has done to me. So these two poems were from this little book. It's a tiny book with just a bunch of poems. It's called Selected Poems of the Divan of Yunus Emre, translated into English by Havva Aslan. And now I would like to read one last poem from this remarkable collection book. It's called The Book of Turkish Poetry, Anthology of Sufi, Dervish, Divan, Court, Folk Poetry from the 12th to 20th century, translated and introduced by Paul Smith. I am faith, idol, Kaaba, making the sphere be spinning. I am cloud on face of the heavens and the rain that is raining. I am thunderbolt flashing. That flashing weaves itself in birth, poisonous snake that deep in earth hides, slinking. I am one Hamza flew over Kaf, who enlarged feet and hands from thrones sent away, wisdom's king reigning. I am cloud that to heaven ascends, rain that to earth descends, haze and mist that before sightless eyes is remaining. I am one building bone, flesh, skin, keeping this a living thing, lying in wisdom's crib, the milk of power draining. I am bringing summer, joy to earth, making hearts his house, creating and being created, gain of servitude knowing. I am. I have captured all so many, and I have lived such a joyful life, burning without coil, hammer on iron, sparks raining. I am. Let one come here who is grieving, so I can reveal a place. My heart's his home, eyes, his town. Time's turning. I am. It is not Yunus saying this. It is power's tongue speaking. It is no pagan crediting that the end and the beginning. I am. And this concludes my talk. Thank you for listening and watching, and feel free to ask questions or comment.
Elif, thank you very much for this very, very deep, profound speech about Yunus Emre. We truly appreciate your work, your being here with us, and this is so valuable, wonderful. Thank you. And
thank you for having me.
Of course, it's our privilege to have you here. Thank you. Figen, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have some questions. I could start with one of them. First of all, they thank. And then the statement and the question is this: love, effort, knowledge, taming of the ego. These values are getting lost in today's pseudo-religious context. How can we always adopt such deeply humanistic values and transmit to our children and future generations?
It's a good question, thank you. We are living in a kind of time, contemporary times we are in. There is some conceptual confusion, of course. Even the values of good and bad are distorted in our times, as we all know. In my very humble opinion, I think if we as individuals learn to become our best version. And by the way, this is different for everyone. It's my way of becoming my best version can be different from someone else's. And because we are unique, even our fingerprints are unique. We have a unique soul, unique mind. So if we pay attention to our conscience, which we call vicdan in Turkish, and to remain on the correct path by holding on to these values, of course, love, knowledge, effort, peace, unity, these values, if we can hold on to them, then of course we can teach the same to our children. But in terms of locating ourselves spiritually, of course, that is also confusing in our time. As you know, there is this spiritual window shopping going on in our time. You know, a little bit of this, a little bit of Reiki, a little bit of crystal healing, you know, many paths out there. And one can get easily confused and just not know how they can locate themselves in the universe in line with these virtues. So again, it really depends on what a person feels in their heart, what they feel close to in terms of which mystical path they feel close to. And as human beings, how can they perfect themselves in the work they do? When I say perfect themselves, I don't mean going into a mountain and meditating 24 hours a day and not living a life. Opposite, actually, living a life, having a job, living a life, having a social life, but living a proper life. Having that conscience in balance and becoming your best version. I don't know whether this was a good answer, but this is what I think. Looking into my life, this is what I'm trying to do.
Thank you. We have one more question. They were wondering about what is the meaning of the Yunus Emre's name. But Yunus Emre means something.
I don't know. Well, Yunus, Yunus, as you know, means a specific fish, like dolphin.
Yeah.
In Turkish. So, but Emre actually, Yunus. Sorry.
Is Emre some type of a title with that study?
Well, yeah, actually, initially Yunus Emre was Yunus only. Okay. He became a student on the Sufi path under the guidance of Tapduk Emre, which was his sheikh, meaning mentor and teacher on the Sufi path. And Tapduk Emre's title, Emre, was passed on to Yunus in a sense. For us, it seems like a surname, but it's like from the sheikh to the murid, from the teacher to the student. It was like a title. So Yunus became Yunus Emre, as far as I know, according to what I read.
Okay, thank you so much. And there's one more question. What is İnsan-ı Kamil in Yunus Emre's view?
Well, in İnsan-ı Kamil, Yunus Emre, as I presented, Yunus Emre sees individual human being not separate from the divine essence. So for him, there is the divine essence is within the body, and so the potentiality to become İnsan-ı Kamil, which means the perfect human being, the seeds of it is already within us. It's not that you go to a shop and you pay money and you buy it, or you adopt it from someone. It's within you, but it's like, of course, just like watering a plant, it grows and becomes a tree. You have to water it. You have to, as a human being, find tools, necessary tools to grow that notion of divinity within you, to become the İnsan-ı Kamil. And as I said in my previous answer, there is not just one way to do that. For everyone, the paths can be different. But once a person becomes in touch with their inner self, they are inevitably on the path of becoming the İnsani Kamil. He, of course, his teachings are under the umbrella of Sufi mysticism. So İnsani Kamil in Tasawwuf has, you know, some different explanations as well, some deeper meanings, but right now I don't have many hours to talk about that. But in general, this is his touch on it.
Thank you so much. Pınar, we don't have any other question at the time. Thank you.
Can I make a very quick comment before we move on? I just wanted to say, like, it's unbelievable how similar the current theories to help people with psychiatric mental health issues and the types of therapies that are shown scientifically to work really great with especially depression and anxiety. We call them third wave behavioral therapies. And the idea is super similar to what Sufism is talking about. Yeah. Like being in the moment, find out those virtues and follow them and get so healing that's amazing. I just wanted to say.
Yes, alternative healing paths in our times has, of course, similarities. Art therapy, there is such thing called art therapy is rather a small field, but I like the term of arts in health rather better. It's a more comprehensive term, stemming from UK and now spreading to all over the world. In hospitals here and there, art and poetry is also used as therapeutic tools. And as you said, what we just talked about in regards to Sufi qualities and paths, similar methodologies, if not the same, but similar methodologies are found in different alternative healing paths.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah, there's also, I want to pass on a lot of thank yous, not questions, for the beautiful poems and explaining the spiritual journey of the Yunus Emre. A lot of people get very inspired. So I just want to make sure I pass that on as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elif'cim, for joining us again today and really just inspiring us with your talk. Now I would like to make the transition to our last but not on the least guest of honor, Miss Selva Erdener, with a little treat from her. 1 minute.
Merhaba.
Hoş geldiniz Selva Erdener.
Merhaba herkese. Türkiye, Ankara'dan merhaba demek istiyorum.
She's saying hello to everyone from Ankara, Turkey. And before we get into a little deeper conversation, I would like to offer our audiences a little treat by you, if you don't mind.
Bu şarkı nihavettir. Bu şarkı nihavettir. Ve beyaz tenderi sandalları siyah. karpuz kabuklarıyla bir deniz kıyısındadır şehir. Karpuz kabuklarıyla bir deniz kıyısındadır şehir. Karpuz kabuklarıyla bir deniz kıyısındadır şehir. Bu şarkı nihaventtir. Bu şarkı nihaventtir. Ve beyaz tendir sandalları siyah mavnaları. Ve beyaz tenteli sandalları siyah mavnaları. Güneşli karpuz kabuklarıyla bir deniz kıyısındadır şehir. Karpuz kabuklarıyla bir deniz kıyısındadır şehir. Karpuz kabuklarıyla bir deniz kıyısındadır şehir. Karpuz kabuklarıyla bir deniz kıyısındadır şehir.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz Selva Erdener. Bizim bugün konuğumuz, özel konuklarımızdan biri olduğunuz için. Thank you so
Çok
much for being here as one of our guests of honor, Selva Erdener.
burada olmak, gerçekten sizlerle beraber olmak benim için de büyük bir mutluluk. Benden önceki Aycil, Yeltan ve Elif Sezen'in güzel filmini ve şiirlerini dinledik. Çok etkilendim gerçekten. Aycil'in filminden de, Elif'in şiirlerinden de. Çok teşekkür ediyorum.
I would like to briefly translate what Selva Erdener expressed. She is very happy to be here with us in this occasion to honor women and commemorate our heroes in Gallipoli. And she also was very impressed by Aycil's movie and inspired by Elif's talk on Yunus Emre. Selva ablacığım, izninizle ben sizi biraz tanıtmak istiyorum dinleyicilerimize. I would like to introduce Selva Erdener to our audiences briefly. Soprano Selva Erdener is an opera artist with the Turkish State and Opera and Ballet. She graduated from Hacettepe University State Conservatory in Ankara. As a soloist with the Turkish State Opera, she has performed in various works, including Gluck's Orfeo e Eurydice, Puccini's La Bohème, Faust by Charles Gounod, Donizetti's Don Pasquale, Il Pagliacci by Ruggero Leoncavallo, several Mozart operas, including the Zauberflöte, Magic Flute, Don Giovanni, Le Nozze di Figaro, Così fan tutte. In addition, she took part as a soloist in Afife, a ballet written by prolific composer, Turkish composer Turgay Erdener, and Mavi Gözlü Dev, The Giant with Blue Eyes ballets. Her first album, Sen Sen Sen, You, You, You, was released in 2001. In this album, she recorded Turkish folk songs and compositions of Turgay Erdener, who is one of the leading Turkish contemporary composers. In 2005, Istanbul Music Festival, she took part as a soloist in the world premiere of Requiem Without Words by Turkish-American composer Kamran İnce. She took part as a soloist in the original soundtrack composed by Goran Bregovic for the film Mustafa on Atatürk by Can Dündar. She released her second album, Düşlerimin Toprağı, The Soil of My Dreams, in 2011. Third album, Nereye Aşkım, Where Are You Off to My Love, in 2013. And fourth album, Biliyor musun, Do You Know, in 2018. And a single, Bitlis'te 5 minare, 5 minarets in Bitlis, with Boğaziçi Jazz Choir in 2019. In addition, she had several performances with leading orchestras in Turkey and in many other countries. Selva ablacığım, of course, just pardon me calling her abla, meaning older sister, as a habit, kusura bakmayın, because I grew up with Selva Erdener at the conservatory. In fact, we both admitted to the conservatory on the same day. I was 10-year-old 6th grade student, and she was admitted to the conservatory as a college student then. So, sorry about the slip. Selva Erdener, it's so impressive to see, observe your accomplishments as a woman performing artist. Çok sizin bu başarılarınızı takip etmek çok etkileyici ve çok gurur verici. I would like to ask you a question. Pardon, evet. I would like to ask you a question. As a woman performing artist in Turkey, what were the challenges you needed to overcome and the opportunities you received that made you who you are as an artist, as a musician today? Türkiye'de bir kadın sahne sanatçısı olarak sizi müzisyen olarak olgunlaştıran ve müzisyen kimliğinizi belirleyen, aşmanız gereken zorluklar ve edindiğiniz fırsatlar neler oldu?
Böyle derin bir nefes alarak başladım konuşmama. Çok uzun bir şeyler söylemeyeceğim, merak etmeyin. Ama şöyle oldu, yani en başında bu işe başlamadan önce çok istediğimi biliyordum ve başka bir şey olmayacağını da biliyordum. Ama buna rağmen üniversite sınavına girdim ve aslında başka bir yer, yani konservatuardan başka bir yer yoktu kafamda ve o yolda ilerlerken ailemden dediler ki okuman gerek, yani daha güzel bir şeyler okuyabilirsin, konservatuara gitmesen mi falan dediler. İşte orada ilk darbeyi yedim, hatırlıyorum. Konservatuarı kazandım. Dedi ki annem yok sen gitme okula dedi. O zaman böyle bir ilk bir hatırladığım onunla ilgili, konservatuara gidersem belki kötü bir şeyler olacak. Yani.
Let me bunu bir çevireyim ben hemen size devam etmeden. First of all, Selva expressed that, okay, I need to take a deep breath before I start answering this question. But don't worry, I'm not going to take up too much of your time, she said also. In her mind, there was no other option to pursue being a singer, an opera singer, a musician. And she took the auditions. She passed the auditions to be admitted to the state conservatory, but her family had some biases, had some concerns about her attending the conservatory, even though she was admitted to the conservatory after really just difficult auditions and exams. Her mother said that, we don't know about this institution as much. We really would like you to go through a mainstream education for yourself and, just like find another occupation, another profession for yourself. So that was the first obstacle in her life before she proved herself as a musician. Evet Selva ablacığım.
Sonra konservatuar ve opera tabii ki. Çok engelle karşılaştım. İstediğimi yapmıştım ve artık o yolda ilerliyordum. Böyle çok ciddi bir şeyle karşılaşmadım açıkçası. Tam tersi artık destek gördüğümü söyleyebilirim. Hem de güzel zamanlardı benim operaya ilk girdiğim yıllar. Çok güzel eserler oynanıyordu ve çok güzel roller söyledim. Ve bu anlamda böyle bir engel şöyle vardı o zamanlar, onu da söyleyeyim. Yurt dışı ile bağlantısında böyle bir zayıflık vardı Türkiye'nin. Bu kadar bir internet ortamı falan da yoktu tabii ki. Dinleme, söyleme, daha fazla hocayla karşılaşma konusunda zengin değildik. Böyle bir dezavantaj vardı. Yurt dışına çıkışlar çok zordu. Böyle geçmişten de bahsetmek nedense çok hoşuma gitmiyor ama gerçekten o anlamda zorluklar vardı. Ama çok güzel bir dönemdi ve o dönemi Ankara Operası'nda yaşadım ben.
After she proved herself to her family, she showed really persistence. She persisted. She showed determination. Of course, her family allowed her to attend the conservatory, and after that, she was appointed as one of the lead singers at the Ankara State Opera and Ballet. And Selva expresses that, of course, there were some, just the difficulties and obstacles to overcome, but after I persisted, and continued believing in myself, I have had many opportunities to sing in great roles in great productions at the State Opera. One thing she mentions, of course, during those times, even though they were great times for her accomplishments, there were some limitations to connect with other singers, other operas abroad. The connection with other music institutions, mentors, living abroad was a little weak. And because there was, we didn't have the means of technology and internet connections that we have right now at that time. But that's, other than that, she really had a great path to follow in growing as a musician, as a singer. Selva ablacığım, çok
2000 yılın çok teşekkür. 2000 yılından sonraki çalışmalarımda da Turgay'ın burada etkisini söylemem gerekiyor. Onun bana her zaman büyük desteği olmuştur ve yanımda olmasını en çok istediğim her anlamda insanlardan biri. O karşılaştığım en güzel şeylerden biri de Turgay'la beraberlik herhalde. Hani sen o soruyu da sordun, o da evet, gerçekten
the best thing that ever happened to her, happened to Selva. The best opportunity is to meet with her husband, Turgay Erdener, one of the prolific and leading contemporary composers in Turkey. And she always felt his support in her growth as a singer, and his help throughout her album releases, especially after 2000. She always has had Turgay Erdener's, her husband's, support and love, and she expresses that. I think she thinks Turgay, he is the only person she would like to be with and around always. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz Selva ablacığım. Şimdi acaba bir sizden canlı bir performance dinleyebilir miyiz?
Elbette. Bu hafta biliyorsunuz 18 Mart Çanakkale Şehitleri Haftası. 106. yılını bu kez anacağız. Bağımsızlığımız için canlarını feda eden şehitlerimize saygı ve minnetle diyorum bir Çanakkale türküsü.
Now we're going to be delighted to hear Çanakkale türküsü sang by Selva Erdener in memory of all of the heroes perished and devoted their lives for our independence in Gallipoli War in 1915 and 16. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Thank you.
Çanakkale içinde aynalı çarşı, Çanakkale içinde aynalı çarşı, anneden gidiyorum düşmana karşı, oy gençliğim eyvah, anne ben gidiyorum düşmana karşı, oy gençliğim eyvah. Çanakkale içinde vurdular beni, Çanakkale Ölmeden mezara koydular beni. Oy gençliğim eyvah. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Biz çok teşekkür ediyoruz. In fact, we are the ones who are privileged here. Thank you very much. Çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Selva ablacığım.
Rica ediyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Alkışlarınızı duydum.
Çok çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bu anlamlı bize katıldığınız için, yeteneğinizle, sesinizle bu anlamlı günümüze daha çok anlam kattığınız için.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çok mersi.
Ben sizin bir şarkınızı daha stream etmek istiyorum.
Tabii.
Pardon.
Sen albümünden Sabahın Seherinde mi?
Evet, çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sen albümünden Sabahın Seherinde. Onu sizden anons etmenizi rica edeceğim lütfen.
Evet, Sabahın Seherinde bir Tokat türküsü Turgay Erdener düzenlemesiyle Sen albümü.
Çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Evet. Teknolojiyle in the meantime we also wrestle with technology. All right. Sen. Albümünden Sabahın Seherinde.
Teşekkür ediyorum.
Biz teşekkür ediyoruz. Thank you so much, Selva Erdener.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to ask Figen if we have any questions for Selva abla.
Yes.
No, we don't have any question, but we have a comment. I'll read it in Turkish, then try to translate it in English. Selva Hanım, vatan hasreti çeken bazılarımızı ağlattınız. Şahane bir eser, sağ olun. Bu mesaj ilk şarkıdan sonra gelmişti, Nihavent. Basically, would you like to translate, Pınar? I trust you more.
Sure, thank you Figen'cim. Hemen buluyorum şeyi. Okay. Miss Selva, you made us who are longing for their motherland cry with your performance. It's an incredible work. Thank you very much.
We have another comment that says mesmerizing. How do I say it in Turkish?
Büyüleyici bir performans sunduğunuza dair bir şey geldi.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. İlk şarkı da Cem İdiz'in bir bestecisiydi. Şiir Nazım Hikmet'in Kuvayi Milliye Destanı'ndan 7. baptan bir küçük bölümdü. Bu şarkı Nihavent'tir isimli, öyle başlayan bir dörtlük.
Yes. So şimdi the first song Nihavent, the lyrics of Nihavent by Turkish poet, very well known and loved Turkish poet Nazım Hikmet, and the music by Turkish composer Cem İdiz.
Yes.
Do we have any other questions? I'm just checking.
No question and comment. I think we all kind of like enjoying the moment.
Yes.
Great performance of this three very talented women.
Selva ablacığım, programımızı kapatmadan önce acaba sizden yine bir canlı performans dinleyebilir miyiz?
Tamam. Bir şarkı hazırladık. Aslında bu şarkı bugünlerin bir an önce geçip gitmesi, sağlıkla eski güzel günlerimize kavuşmamız dileğiyle Turgay Erdener bestesi Dürenmat sözleriyle geçer. Geçer, her bir gün değişir her şey diyor. Böyle başlıyor şarkı. Evet. Bir şey söylüyordum Pınar'cığım.
I was going to translate. Çevirecektim.
Okay.
Sizi bekliyorum.
Tamam.
Now Selva Erdener and Turgay Erdener on the piano will perform Geçer, This Too Shall Pass. Composed by Turgay Erdener. And then the lyrics by bu sözleri kime aitti Selva ablacığım?
Dürenmat.
The lyrics by Dürenmat and the music by Turgay Erdener. And Selva Erdener is dedicating this piece to all these difficult days we have all gone through during this past year due to difficulties and hardship due to pandemic. This song will give the message of this too shall pass. Geçer. Now.
bir gün belki ikimiz. Bir gün değişir her şey. Geçer. Bir gün değişir her şey. Birleşiriz bir gün belki ikimiz. Birleşiriz bir gün belki ikimiz. La la la la la la la la. Bir gün la la la la la. La la la la. Belki la la la la la.
Bravo. What a delight. Thank you so much. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz Selva Erdener.
Ben teşekkür ediyorum. Sizlerle beraber olmak çok keyifliydi. Bu arada Turgay Erdener piyanodaydı tabii.
Piyanoda Turgay Erdener. Yes, on piano composer Turgay Erdener. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz hocam size de. Thank you very much.
Hemen kaçtı Pınar'cığım, içeri hemen kaçtı.
Ben tek bütün konuklarımıza çok teşekkür etmek istiyorum. I would like to thank each and every one of our guests of honor, Miss Aycil Yeltan, Dr. Elif Sezen, and Miss Selva Erdener for kindly accepting our invitation and join us in this program organized by Turkish-American Association of Minnesota in honor of Women's History Month and the commemoration of the heroes we lost in Gallipoli, Battle of Gallipoli. Thank you so much for being here with us. I also would like to extend my thanks to each and every member of our board of Turkish-American Association of Minnesota and all of our participants for joining in and sharing this wonderful day with us, this program with us. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz hepinize geldiğiniz için. Thank you so much. Çok teşekkürler.
Teşekkür ederiz.
Biz çok teşekkür ederiz. Çok güzeldi. Çok güzeldi. Çok teşekkürler. Sağ olun.
Hepinize çok teşekkürler. Sağ olun.